Morning.
Good morning. It's Monday the 7th of September and our Moravian text this morning is Luke chapter 22 verses 63 to 71, the end of chapter 22.
It's the story and the account from Luke about Jesus when he was brought before the religious leaders and where he was mocked by the Roman soldiers before they took him away to accuse him of all sorts of things. And before we get into this text today, we thought it would be really good to look at Luke, because at the beginning of Luke's account, he says this: "Inasmuch as many have undertaken to compile an account of the things accomplished among us, just as they were handed down to us by those who from the beginning were eyewitnesses and servants of the word, it seemed fitting for me as well, having investigated everything carefully from the beginning, to write it out for you in consecutive order, most excellent Theophilus, so that you may know the exact truth about the things you have been taught." And so this account is very factual. This is Luke checking facts, speaking to people, investigating the whole process of Jesus's trial. And so this is the context that we're looking at it today.
It starts off with Jesus being taken before the Sanhedrin. It's interesting that he misses out the nighttime meeting with Caiaphas. Mark and Matthew deal with that. But Luke goes straight to the Sanhedrin's morning meeting. They're only officially allowed to meet during the day. They weren't allowed to meet at night. So it was a hastily convened meeting, and Jesus is brought before them. Luke does say that he'd been spat on, hit, that he'd been blindfolded and smacked and told to prophesy. But then he was brought before the Sanhedrin. Now, the Sanhedrin, they were the religious leaders of the Jewish nation. They were the final appeal court for every trial. And if they found you guilty, that was it. It was death or the punishment. They were judging Jesus. And they came, and it was a mockery. They knew what they wanted. They wanted to trap Jesus to admitting his guilt and to have him killed, because he was threatening their authority. He was threatening their teaching. He was exposing their hypocrisy. And now was their chance.
I think they'd been looking for a while, hadn't they? I mean, Jesus had been travelling, and from time to time they were seeking to catch him out. Many of the Gospels talk about that. And, you know, it's very disconcerting when you have a group of people that are set against you in ministry. Certainly Malc and I, a couple of churches ago, when we were leading a church and we'd come into the church to transform it and to transition it and change it round, we had an opposition group from the word go, which is terrible to say, but true. And this group just made it their life's work every Sunday to sit in the huddle. When we were ministering, they would be looking at each other, giving glances, they'd be muttering or shaking their heads. At the end of the talk, inevitably one of them would be sent to talk to us and challenge us, and we would often get an email midweek as well. Not nice. But I mean, you know, to pursue ministry into that backdrop, when you're coming really into a family, into the house of the Lord, week in, week out, it really, really ground you down. Jesus had that from the very outset of his ministry. So he'd had 3 years of people following him, trying to trip him up. And finally, the Pharisees think, we now have you. We've got you where we want you. They've got him bound. They've got him exactly where they want him. And they are ready now to throw these accusations against him. So to their mind, this was their moment of triumph. Finally, they were going to get their prey.
The ironic thing is, this was the Passover time, the time where they recognised that God had saved them from Egypt and had mercy on them, and yet here them rushing a meeting ready to kill Jesus. And it reminds me of Jonathan Edwards in 1742 did a sermon called "Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God," and it brought revival to America. And really, here's the opposite. It's God in the hands of angry sinners. They were determined to find him guilty, to judge him, to condemn him. And that's what they did. And it's a really sad state of human heart that they were there to find Jesus guilty, not discover the truth.
Yeah. You know what? In one sense, they didn't learn their lesson, because once they'd crucified Jesus, maybe some of them there realised, oh, we've just crucified the Son of God. 3 days later he rose again. Maybe a few of them really computed, but they didn't learn their lesson, because not long later we've got Stephen.
Yeah.
And they accused him of the very same things in the very same way, and they killed him too. So I think it's sad to think that they were so blinded to their rituals, to their legalistic behaviour, that they could not see the truth.
Yeah. I think the grace to get from this passage is, of course, that we can avoid the judgment, that through Jesus now sitting at the right hand of God, judging us, we are forgiven when we've accepted him into our lives. So the good news is that we won't have to face the things that Stephen went through, and that is good news.
Amen. Have
Amen.
a great day. Bye.